you're scooting it close enough to you as well that it's amplifying throughout the sanctuary. Okay, our next question, again, we had a couple iterations of this. What have you done or will you do to fight gangs and reduce violent crime?
We should really hit the pressure, hit them really hard. Force them, let them know that Elgin's not really a good town to live in if you want to be a gang member. You might as well go up the street or down this road or somewhere else. We are going to enforce, go after the laws, go after them. Chief Svoboda talked to me the other day, and he says we're going to try to go after the gang bangers, drug dealing. We're going to sue them, and this is Elgin's starting to sue the gang bangers. They're going to go after them and try to reclaim all the money they spent on investigating them. They're down in Springfield now trying to come up with a state law. But we're going to try to make it almost impossible that you're going to enjoy life here. If you're here to cause trouble, I'd put up a sign right now, leave. Okay, we don't want you here. Okay, if you want to live here and be peaceful and be a neighbor, we're glad to have you. But if you're here to cause trouble, ship them out.
In regards to this question, I think it also goes back to tying with some of the Youth 46. It's a close partnership that we can have with Youth 46. I think a lot of our gang members are probably being recruited out of our schools. So a presence in the schools, as well as I think a strong after-school programs. I would continue to want to support the Boys and Girls Club of Elgin. I think that's a viable nonprofit that's helping our children and helping with the reduction of gang activity. I'm excited about Chief Svoboda. I think he is very good about confronting crime head on. I don't think he's afraid of it. I don't think he's timid about it. I think he's making good steps with dealing with illegal immigration, which ties in with gang activity. I think his partnership with ICE has been helpful. I also think some of the things that our court system has done, as far as I think we saw in the Daily Herald a couple months ago about a kind of a roundup that was done to do I believe a civic suit against the gang members for just being together. So those are the types of things that I would support. It is a detriment to our city.
Well, I think the good news is that our crime rate has steadily decreased over the past few decades, which is great news. But that's not to say that we can't remain vigilant and continue to ensure that we're providing the best public safety services and confronting issues as they arise. I think Elgin has done a great job as far as supporting community policing. We need to continue to improve those efforts and sustain those efforts with police officers living in neighborhoods. I'm also a supporter of the broken glass theory of policing, where you address small problems before they become big problems and things that kind of spiral out of control. And I too support Chief Svoboda and his approach to crime prevention and public safety. I think it was a great decision to promote him over the past couple of years. So I think we should continue the efforts that we've made and work at the community level to ensure public safety.
I think one thing we can do is to support the city police in their ways to be creative and efficient and innovative. You heard about the civil suit. That's something new that not too many communities have tried. Elgin is trying that. Our police department brought that forth. Just this week was announced some legislation at the state level to try to pass the costs of drug arrests and drug processing and convictions onto the criminals themselves. That legislation came from a couple of our officers within the police department. It started there. One of the biggest decisions a city council makes besides an annual budget and a 5-year plan is choosing the city manager. We had the chance to do that under my first term. I think we made an excellent choice, and Sean hired from within, and I wanted to make the point we did that with this police chief and fire chief as well, and I think they're both excellent choices. You're seeing innovation, you're seeing creativity. In addition to supporting the Boys and Girls Club, which I do, for example, we lost the DARE program to budget cuts, but the chief asked the police to volunteer, think outside their job descriptions, and he got police to volunteer at every single one of the Elgin schools. So we still have police presence there, even though the DARE program might have been eliminated.
I love talking about our police department, and if it wouldn't take up a minute of my time, I would call for a round of applause for our police department and Chief Swoboda. With our population almost doubling and our crime rate at a 40-year low is just an amazing accomplishment. As a city council person, I'm very proud to give not only the police department but the fire department and the public works the resources and the tools they need to be world class. I believe that we have re-energized, as John's comments with the new leadership, has re-energized not only the police department but all our departments. They're all embracing new technology. They're all finding new ways to create revenue, doing beet juice to make our streets safe. Police departments engaging our bad citizens with going out after warrants and telling the bad guys we don't want you here, and helping the landlords with the crime-free housing to give the landlords the tools to make sure they don't rent to bad people. So I think we're being aggressive, and I'm so proud of it. Thank you.
I believe the legislation at the state level is still pending, but Councilman Prigge and I, the last election, were the only two that brought up civil gang injunctions. And we've come a long way since then, but that has been successful at the county level. We are the only city that's involved in that right now. That means they can't congregate, they can't do flashing their gang signs, it goes all the way to pagers. There's different things that the police can go after them for. Right now, the police department's using 2 task force. I don't have the time to go into what they are, the definitions of them, but there's 2 different task forces from ICE that the police department's using. One of the detectives is concentrating ID theft. Another gang unit police officer screens all of the gang arrests that they want, that they make. ICE wants certain individuals. There's other arrests that they're not interested in. And the roundups are good. It was wonderful to see that Mr. Chief Swoboda and the other municipalities and agencies were involved in that roundup. We're making positive strides toward that, and we need to keep that up too.
With crime being at an all-time low, I would definitely give all my support to the police department. And you know, I think some people think that, well, if crime's at a low, maybe we don't need as many officers. I think that's always a bad way to think. So definitely whatever the police department needs, you definitely need to give it to them. And whatever they're doing, definitely they need to keep it up. And any support that the council can give them, I definitely will be for that. And Tawa too, I think as a community, we can actually do a little bit more. Neighborhood associations, you know, the neighborhood watch, definitely alerting the police department to any small crimes, anything that's happening. Because for how great our police department actually is, they cannot be everywhere at once. We as citizens are actually everywhere, and I think I would definitely maybe try to do some more reach out programs with the police department and local citizens. And thank you.
This question basically ties into my second priority of my campaign in terms of maintaining our core services, police, fire, and public works. And as many people already noted, our crime rate is at a 40-year low, which is great. But for the people in certain areas of town that are still dealing with gang issues, they're really not understanding that. So I would say that we need to look at this from a 3-layer approach. First of all, being proactive. If we can get our kids to not join gangs in the first place, that's the first step. And I think we do that at a parent level. We do that at a school level. And we do that at a community level. And I know that there are plenty of our social service organizations in our community, like Boys and Girls Club, that provide positive options to our youth that prevent them from joining gangs in the first place. Secondly, making sure that we have active, engaged citizens who work to make sure that they alert the police of problems in their community that they see. And lastly, I like the idea of the civil suits that we started using at the police department to address gang-related issues. I think that's been very helpful.
Gang crime in Elgin is down 60% in the last 10 years. and we still have a ways to go. And that's why when State's Attorney John Bersani approached me a little over a year ago, and he said, do you think Elgin would be interested in participating in kind of a radical idea in which we would enjoin gang members from even hanging out with one another? And if they did, we could arrest them, and we could fine them, and we could send them to jail for up to a year. And I said, why not? So I went over, we talked to the police department, and they said, yeah, it's going to take us a while. We're going to have to assemble some data. We have to identify who these gang members are, and we have to serve them with injunctions and so on, but let's do it. And we did it, and it's making a difference in Elgin. We also just had a press conference Monday at which Representative Farnham and Officers Jensen and Adam were there. I had the idea that, hey, look, when we do a DUI, we charge the drunken driver for the time it takes police to write those tickets and process and go to court. Why couldn't we do that with drug and gang offenders? So we've introduced a bill. Representative Farnham has introduced a bill in this session that does precisely that. If gang members are involved in drug activity, we can sue them and we can recover the cost so that doesn't something you and I have to pay. And finally, our cooperation with ICE Immigration Customs Enforcement has been among the best of any police department or any community in the Chicagoland area, and it's paid dividends for us.
In 1995, Elgin had 141 sworn police officers. In 2009, we have 190. We had 190 sworn police officers, a 35% increase. During that time period, crime dropped 39%. The more police on the streets, the better the crime prevention. These are type 1 crimes. Gang members are not necessarily born here. They're very mobile. They come from other communities. They move in, they move out. I lived in Eagle Heights. The reason I got involved in neighbor works and neighborhoods and working in government was my own neighborhood. Eagle Heights had a huge gang problem along Mark Avenue, one of the highest crime rates in the district. What we did in my neighborhood, I asked that every time we saw somebody with a loud muffler, we call the police. A drug dealer will not turn in somebody for a loud muffler. I wanted Eagle Heights to have the highest number of police calls within the city. And we did that, and those guys moved out. If they're not welcome, they leave. I'm sorry. I'm watching the time go.
All right, first of all, crime was at its highest in the early 1990s, and people predicted that it was just going to skyrocket. Fact of the matter is, nationally, violent crime is down. Nationally, all crime is down. And economists have looked at this. They looked at what influence policing strategies and policing numbers have had, and it accounted for approximately 10% of the variance, which is not a whole lot. They looked at economic variation, and again, said that's not a huge factor. And they looked at prevention issues, education, and they said that's not it doesn't account for a lot of the variance either. In fact, altogether, all four of those issues only account for approximately 50% of the variance in the decrease in violent crime. The fact of the matter is we don't know exactly why crime is going down. Some people have suggested it has just become unfashionable. The honest to God's truth is that the more we do and the more it's going to cost us, the less effective it's going to be.
Once again, illegal immigration it comes up quite often. A large part of the gang membership throughout the country come from south of the border. To sit there and speak in platitudes of how we should do this and we should have our kids not join gangs and how it's nice, but where's the plan? There is no plan. One thing you could do is you could have the kids in the public school wear certain types of clothing so that gang membership can't flash their signs. Now, I like percentages. Everybody's spewing percentages. Percentage is a great way to hide things, a great way to not lie, tell the truth, but in your favor. So let me throw a few percentages at you. 2.14% drop in crime from 09 to 10, a drop. But 33.3% increase in homicide, 28% increase in robbery, 7% increase in theft. There were 2,556 serious crimes in 2010. We still have a crime problem. It is slowly being resolved. As far as crime with the illegals and the gangs. Again, like I said at the onset of this, your first good step is go after the illegals. Because if you go after the illegals, they leave. There's no jobs here for them to have, so they're leaving. When they're leaving, crime goes down.